Hello everyone, welcome back. Tom with Capo Fetish. Today on the channel I present to you 25 favorite opening tracks on debut albums from the 70s. A few videos prior we did the 60s, today we're going to do the 70s. Great opening tracks, okay? So I'm going to start off here with a banger from 1977 off the first Clash album, Janie Jones. Starting off a perfect record from start to finish. They even throw a little reggae in with Police and Thieves. A couple years later, in 1979, the U.S. released the first Clash album, starting with Clash City Rockers. It doesn't even compare to Janie Jones, but it does have its attributes. It does have jail guitar doors on here. It has their version of I Fought the Law by Bobby Fuller 4, and it does have one of their greatest singles, Complete Control. Another really powerful opening track is Mother from Plastic Ono Band from John Lennon. When you hear a track like this, it really just showcases just the range of Lennon's genius through the Beatles, through his solo albums. I mean, so many different styles and moods and different vibes, and just what an incredible song Mother is. You have to be in a certain mood, at least I have to be in a certain mood to listen to this track. It is very, very powerful and deep and downright depressing. A song about abandonment, and those screams at the end of Mother are just absolutely just gut-wrenching vocals from Lennon, and I think it's just a work of art, this track. Mother, and this whole album is actually. Mother from the Plastic Ono Band from John Lennon. How about See No Evil from Television from the Marquee Moon album? Another just solid album from start to finish. One of my favorite albums from 77. I remember seeing REM do a cover of this a few times back in the mid-80s. Not as good as Television, but they did a pretty good job. But this album just kicks off in fine form. What a great opening track. See No Evil. And every track after this is just absolutely masterful. The opening track on Steely Dan's first album from 1972, Can't Buy a Thrill, Do It Again. It's been played to death, but before it was played to death, I really love this track. Still do. And it just kind of kicks off just an amazing career for Steely Dan. And really nothing sounds like this track. I remember when it was on the radio in the early 70s, I remember just thinking how distinctive it sounded and how amazing it was. Do It Again by Steely Dan off Can't Buy a Thrill from 72. How about Personality Crisis from the New York Dolls, the debut? Fine track, very sloppy sounding, produced by Todd Rundgren. Whole album is fantastic. There's one track on here that I always really loved, more than just about any track on here, and that is, what is that? Lonely Planet Boy. Love that track with the acoustic guitar. But the whole album is fantastic. The first album by Tom Waits is a real winner, and the first track really is just so gorgeous. Old 55. The Eagles later did a cover of this. I'm sure that gave him some nice publishing, benefits. But his version to me is the greatest version of Old 55. Just really heartfelt. And this whole album is very heartfelt. This is just a worlds away from, albums like Rain Dogs. He was really just a real, just straight ahead singer-songwriter on those first 2 or 3 albums. And to this day, those 3 albums are some of my favorites. And though I do like a little bit of his experimental stuff, I really prefer more his early singer-songwriter stuff. I think it was fantastic. So Old 55 off Closing Time from Tom Waits. How about a little jazz? The first album by band Return to Forever, headlined by Chick Corea. Incredible opening track. The title of the album, title of the band, Return to Forever. You got these really cool kind of scat vocals by Flora Purim on, she's this Brazilian artist. You've got Joe Farrell on flutes and soprano sax, Stanley Clarke on bass, Airto Morena on drums. Just a really great album, really important 1970s jazz album. And the title track just really takes you somewhere. It's really ethereal, really cool. So Return to Forever by Return to Forever. And of course, I got to throw this in here because it's just, this album has just grown on me and I can't stop listening to it. And it's the first album by Judy Sill. The song is called Crayon Angels, the kickoff track. And every track after that is this masterful songwriting, just amazing. I don't know if any of you have seen the recent documentary called, what's it called? Oh, I forgot what it's called. But anyway, it's a great documentary. I believe it's on Apple, and it might be on a few other streaming services, but I highly recommend it. It's an amazing story. I mean, you couldn't even write this story. You couldn't even write it, right? It's just her upbringing, what she went through, and then how she overcame all these obstacles and created these two masterful albums. Though she couldn't avoid her drug issues, and unfortunately that's what did her in. But I highly, highly recommend this album. And the kickoff track, Crayon Angels, is just gorgeous. How about Holidays in the Sun by the Sex Pistols? A nice angry track, kicking off a fine album from start to finish from 1977. An amazing track off the first Mahavishnu Orchestra album, Meeting of the Spirits. Wow, what a track. What a band. John McLaughlin on guitar, Billy Cobham on drums. And just from start to finish, an album like no other. I love their second album as well, Birds of Fire, but this one, what a debut. Meeting of the Spirits. If you haven't heard this album or heard that track, pull it up, check it out. It's just amazing. Great jazz fusion from 1971. Another great one is from Emmett Rhodes, his debut album. This song should have been a huge hit in 1970. It has kind of a Paul McCartney-esque vibe. With My Face on the Floor. He recorded every track on this album, every bass, all the tracks, bass, drums, guitar, vocals, harmonies. He did it all. The drums do at times sound like cardboard boxes, but that's what the charm of this album is. It's very indie sounding, all the way back in 1970. And this is, to me, this is almost a perfect record, a 5-star singer-songwriter record by the amazing Emmett Rhodes, and the opening track, With My Face on the Floor. Now, here's a band, when they released their debut album in 1978, it was so off, it was like out of the gates, just overplayed to death, to the point where for years and years, it's just like, it just kind of like, I just got sick of it, right? But, you know, decades have passed now, and I decided to throw this on. And I can't believe what a great album this is. It's almost like a greatest hits. And I got to tell you, I was blown away. It's been decades since I've heard this album all the way through, and it is fantastic. The debut from the Cars, and the opening track, Good Times Roll. I have to say, Rick Ocasek was a great songwriter, and Benjamin Orr, what a great vocalist. Great vocalist. These are just great pop songs that they've never really aged. And every track on here is so meticulously crafted, and all the instruments are perfect. The synths aren't up way too high. I love the kind of fuzz on the guitar. Great stuff. First Cars album, great stuff. Another great one from 1971, but released in 76. I think I mentioned this in past couple of videos, is The Modern Lovers, Roadrunner. An absolute milestone track, kind of foreshadows the new wave punk era years prior, and it's been used in several films, and it's just an absolute classic. It's just a joyous song, and Jonathan Richman is just on fire on this album. All the tracks on here are amazing. 1970s Dave Mason, 1970s album Alone Together by Dave Mason. The song Only You Know and I Know is a fantastic album opener. And how about this marble vinyl here? This is one of the first colored vinyls I ever saw in my life back in 1970. Isn't that cool? Look at that. And Blue Thumb Records. But Only You Know and I Know is an amazing track. I think Delaney and Bonnie covered it as well. And this is really the only album I ever liked by Dave Mason, Alone Together. Another amazing opener from one of the greatest power pop bands of all time, Big Star, the song called Feel, with a real belting voice from Chris Bell. And of course, Alex Chilton from the Box Tops was in this band. This is just a killer band. Jody Stevens on drum, Andy Hummel on bass. 5-star album right here. Big Star, #1 record, the opening track called Feel. Check it out if you haven't heard it. You'd love this record. Another great one, never knew about this guy until the Searching for Sugar Man movie came out, but I love this album and I love the opening track. Sugar Man by Rodriguez. you couldn't even like write this story if you tried. I mean, think about like a 1 in a billion chance of this kind of story happening, right? This guy's like in seclusion for years. He releases 2 albums, and he's a huge hit in South Africa. Almost kind of considered like a prophet to the people there. And he had no idea. He was just doing regular day jobs, and then he finds out that he's got this humongous fan base in South America. If you've never seen Searching for Sugar Man, I highly suggest it. It's just one of those really uplifting, just unimaginable type of stories. It's incredible. So I'm going to throw in Sugar Man for this. This is off his album Cold Fact. Another great album. If you've never heard this album, it's fantastic all the way through. How about Chucky's in Love by Ricky Lee Jones? What a great single and a great album here. Really unique talent. Back in 1979, she's released tons of different albums. She even had an affair, not even affair. She had a relationship with Tom Waits at one point. And I played this a while back, and it's just a great album all the way through. Chucky's in Love is a really cool single from 1979. George Harrison, All Things Must Pass, the opening track, I'd Have You Anytime, a co-write with Bob Dylan, is a gorgeous track and just a perfect opening to a perfect record. How about Elvis Costello's opening track on his debut, My Aim Is True, Welcome to the Working Week, all 1 minute and 22 seconds of it. Fantastic. And a perfect record. I mean, this guy's first 3 records were about as perfect as you can get. So that's another banger. Welcome to the Working Week by Elvis Costello. An album that has been considered the worst-selling album in the history of Warner Brothers Records. But what an incredible singer-songwriter, British folk record this is. Richard Thompson's album, Henry the Human Fly. The opening track called Roll Over Von Williams. Starting off with this really unique guitar sound. It almost sounds like bagpipes. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's just really amazing guitar playing. And the rest of the album is just full of great songs all the way through. When people think of Richard Thompson, they think of like Shooting Out the Lights and stuff like that. But this is his first album, and I highly recommend it if you've never heard it. It's just a perfect album from start to finish. And that opening track is phenomenal. Roll Over Von Williams. How about the first track on Peter Gabriel's first album, also known as Car, Moribund the Burgermeister? What an amazing track. It almost sounds like it could have been off Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Gabriel is employing all these different voices in here, which I love when Gabriel does. He's like the man of many voices, at least in his early days. But this kicks off a fine album. A lot of dynamics in Moribund the Burgermeister. And always been one of my favorite opening tracks. Nick Lowe's first album, Pure Pop for Now People, also known as Jesus of Cool, but not in the U.S. This is the U.S. version, the song called So It Goes. Great little power pop tune. Great album all the way through, just flawless power pop. Saw him open for Elvis Costello a few years back, and he was just on fire. One of my favorite songwriters. Nick Lowe. How about Brian Eno's first album, the song called Needles in the Camel's Eye, off of Here Come the Warm Jets. That's another fantastic opener from the 70s. So people who only know of him as this kind of ambient artist, Another Green World, should check this album out. It's a little more rocking, a little more straightforward, and this is an awesome opening track. Dire Straits, never been a huge fan, but I love their first album. I don't need to hear Sultans of Swing ever again, but that first track on side 1, Down to the Waterline, is awesome. Always love that track. And then we've got Jackson Browne's first album, also known as Saturate Before Using. The opening track, love this track. Jamaica Say You Will is a great singer-songwriter track. This is one of his best albums, in my opinion. So there you go. There are 25 favorite opening tracks on debut albums. Do you have any to throw into the comments section? Let me know. I'd love to know. If you haven't already, please press the subscribe button. And we'll see you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.